talk a little boxing. We know we love to talk it as much as possible on the air. And real good-looking fighter, Tony Harrison from Detroit, IBF title eliminator against Sergey Rabchenko, Saturday, July 30th at the Barclays Center. That'll be the first fight aired on Showtime, live on Showtime. Kind enough to join us for a couple moments. How you been, Tony?
Oh, everything good, man. Just in the city of Detroit, man. And
grinding like they do in the world famous gym down there in Detroit. You know, let me ask you this too, in the world famous Kronk gym. You know, go back to your, and I'm sure you're probably tired of talking about it, but I have to ask. Go back to the Willie Nelson fight. You know, have you gone over that fight?
You know, it's one of those mental things that you always want to cross paths with again. But as far as it holding up my career and career-wise, I'm past it. You know what I mean? It is a fight I know for sure I should have won, for sure. You know what I mean? And that's what's eating me up. It's not the fact that I lost. It's the fact that I lost to somebody I know I should have beat. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I'm mentally beating up myself for not doing the right thing to myself and for myself in the ring. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things where kind of like the ego and my egotistic ways of wanting to knock everybody out got in the way of just winning a fight, and that's the big purpose of fighting. You know, just win. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, especially when I was going to say when you lose a fight kind of late in that fashion as well, and you're leading on the fight, and you're right. Sometimes, you know, the ego can be a boxer's worst enemy, right?
Oh man, at all times, and that's what makes great fighters from good fighters, man. And I'm starting to figure it out.
And again, you get set for a big one, IBF light middleweight title eliminator, Rabchenko. And again, just a reminder for everyone, that's going to be a Showtime opener. And of course, Tony comes in with a 23-1 mark, possesses knockout power, 19 KOs in his career. Rabchenko, the same thing, 20 knockouts. That's a PBC event, Saturday, July 30th, Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And the Showtime telecast is going to begin at 9, so we'll certainly get to see you live in action. All right, give me a little scouting report on your opponent, because you know he's kind of a come forward fighter. He can box on the inside, he can box in the pocket, he can box on the outside. He's got some good power as well. But what have you seen, without giving the game plan away? What have you seen in him that you think you'll be able to expose a little bit?
I've seen nothing different than I've seen fighting an amateur fighter from Texas or any state in the United States. I think he possesses nothing to me spectacular. You know what I mean? He's a good up and down fighter. But that's all it is up and down. You know what I mean? I have the international experience. I fought 6 or 7 of my fights overseas. I think he possesses nothing that I've never saw before. I think it makes for a great fight, and I think a fighter that's come forward fighter. I always have my best performances against guys like this. Yeah, against guys that come forward and look to win and look to knock people out. My worst performances come against guys like Willie Nelson, the defensive kind of guy that don't open up at no point. So I think this is one of those times where you might see the best performance from Tony Harrison.
You mentioned, too, with some of the defensive fighters, and then conversely with the come-forward fighters, and you've done a ton of training with GGG, and, of course, Golovkin is such an aggressive, active fighter and loves to go for the knockout. I mean, all that sparring that you've done with him over the course of the last several years, I mean, how has that made you a better fighter?
I mean, it made me a better fighter mentally, and just getting the experience. Experience is the best teacher for me. So not only did I get in the ring and get to spar and get to pick the mind and play chess against one of the best fighters in the world right now, I got to see how he trained. I got to see how he eat. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest part for me. I'm not going to just for the work. I want to see why these guys are world champions. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see what they're eating. I want to see how they're training. I want to see the strength and conditioning part of it. I want to see, the mental part of it. I want to see what they're doing when they're not boxing. You know what I mean? So I got to spend my time with that guy. You know what I mean? I got to spend my time with Klitschko. Mm-hmm. I got to spend my time with K9 and Andy Lee You know what I mean? Those are moments that you cannot buy. You know, not even in the ring. You know, just the mental aspect of a world champion being around it and seeing how they train, how they eat, and now I'm starting to relate myself to those kind of things. So I'm starting to train how they train and eat how they eat and run when they run and at the pace they're running at. And you know what I mean? Just
sure, it's almost 100%. Like osmosis. Yeah, sure, absolutely. You just pick it up. Yep.
Yeah, you're picking it, and that's all I'm doing, man. I'm a fly on the wall, man, and I'm just looking and I'm just sitting and I'm watching, and I'm telling you, it's making me such a great fighter out the ring that in the ring is not the problem.
And how about, you know, you're a Detroit guy, and anyone that follows boxing, everyone knows the famed and the fabled Kronk Gym on the city's southwest side, and you look at some of the great fighters that have come out of Detroit, Sugar Ray Robinson's, yourself that actually called Brewster Wheeler Recreation Center home, your grandfather as well, but I'm talking about Thomas Hitman. You know, you look at some of those great fighters to come out of Detroit, and I think Detroit gets a little flack over the last several years because it doesn't seem like it's sprouting out guys like it was back in the day. I'm sure that probably rubs you a little bit the wrong way, and you might dismiss that. But, you know, when you look at yourself and you look at your career, do you also feel as though you're representing the city of Detroit and you want to make an impact on some of those younger kids, those younger fighters, those amateurs, and maybe they can also be the next Tony Harrison or the next Thomas the Hitman Hearns, and kind of bring boxing back on the map in Detroit, if you will?
I mean, that besides my family and my son, and you know, and doing it for all those other great reasons. I mean, Detroit is, you know, top priority for me. You know, we a lot of fighters here. We have a lot of great talent, man, but we get undershadowed because the light is not being shined on the city as much. And I think not only the world has to do with it. I think we have to do with it because we got so many great fighters here, man, but we so separated and it's so segregated. Everybody wants to be the man instead of working together and everybody coming together here. So that's the big project for me, man. Is just grind hard, man, and represent. And this title eliminator shot is step one for me, man. I get this and then I get the title shot and win the title, man. I think I'll be able to pull a couple rankings to get the city of Detroit the shining light that we used to have, man, and because I know we deserve it, man. I know the groundwork that people is putting in around here. I know the landscape. I know what they laying around here. You know what I mean? We putting in the work. We putting in the legwork, and we laying down the foundation, man. We just don't get the support as much as the other cities is getting right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So sure. Detroit is definitely, you know, that's the main goal, man. But like I said, it's got to be taken step by step, and it's taken step by step with us. You know what I mean? K9, which is a good friend of mine, is taking initiative, and he's been at my camp plenty of days watching me spar and giving me information. You know what I mean? So right. I think that's just a great start for us as a city. You know what I mean? You can't ask for help outside the city if the help is not inside the city.
Right.
You
That's
know what I mean?
Yep.
So K9 is coming in and shed light. You know what I mean? And not even working. You know, we sparred a couple of days, but you know, it's not as big as the support mentally when you know that this guy's in the same weight class as you, in the same city, and he still comes by and supports you. Yeah. You know, that's big mentally.
Sure.
For me. You know what I mean? I think we got to continue to support each other like that, because I'm telling you, man, you got Dominique Dalton that's out here. He's undefeated. Who had got cut, and I sparred with him countless of rounds, probably over 60, 70 rounds, getting them leading up to fight the Wolfman, which he accidentally got cut in the week of, and he's undefeated. You got Julian Love, who trains out in Vegas.
Very good fighter. Very good fighter.
Yeah,
yep.
He came back here, so all of us was training side by. And I'm telling you, man, it just reminded us of the old days when I see Julian in there, and Dominique and me and Ed Williams. And we are training side by side, man, and we are pushing each other for a bigger purpose, and that's to get the city of Detroit back on the map, man, and it just felt like home again.
Listen, got about a minute to go, and I appreciate a couple extra minutes with you real quick. And, yeah, you mentioned Ed Williams, too. I love the nickname, the Thoroughbred. Hey, listen, two things. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Your cousin's with Antonio Gates, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you a Lions fan?
I'm a fan of the city of Detroit, so anything that got something to do with Detroit.
Well, I was gonna put you on the spot and say, I mean, you got to be a little bit of a Charger fan if he's your blood, right?
Yeah, man, I'm an Antonio Gates fan.
All right, that's politically. You know what? Politically correct. Come on, man.
Yeah. I'm just. I mean. Like I said, man, I was a Charger fan back in the day when they had Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson.
All right. I'll give you that. All right. Listen,
you know what I mean. But like I said, man, my family is very high on sports, man. So
right.
Devin Funchess is he just had his rookie year.
Yep.
You know what I mean. So his second season is coming up.
He's about
most of his time so he's spending his time in the city, and we spending
fantasy
time
football loves those guys.
Man, they supposed to. He's a hell of an athlete, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, the generations will keep coming from this family.
Listen, before I let you get out, about 30 seconds, what can the boxing fans expect from you July 30th, and what kind of statement are you trying to make going forward?
I'm trying to make a statement of a very, 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 very big statement. I'm looking forward to my first fight ever in New York and Brooklyn, which is a great fighting city, and in the state of New York, who's held so many big fights.
Sure.
I'm looking to make a statement. I'm looking to send Rabchenko back over there where he belongs. I'm looking to be sitting sideline in the catbird seat in the Julian Williams and Charlo fight.
You know what? I'm gonna leave you on that, and we'll pick up after July 30th, and I'll get your thoughts on that going forward for future opponents. Tony, I appreciate a couple moments, pal.